What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the life of one of the most famous, most feared, and most mythologized gangsters in American history, John Gotti. The Teflon Don, the mafia boss who walked out of federal court smiling again and again until the feds finally found a way to make the charges stick. This is the rise and fall of John Gotti. But before we get into his story, let's explain what the American Mafia is, the Commission, and the five families. The Commission was created in 1931 by Charlie Lucky Luciano. He is the founder and architect of the modern American Mafia. After eliminating the old-school boss, Salvatore Maranzano, Luciano reorganized the Mafia, ended the boss of bosses system, created the five families, formed the Commission to keep peace and maximize profit. This move changed organized crime forever. The Commission is basically the Mafia's governing body in the United States, like a board of directors for the mob. Its purpose: prevent wars between the families, handle disputes, approve major actions, like hits on high-ranking members, divide territory and business, keep the Mafia operating like an organized corporation. Instead of constant violence, the Commission allowed the Mafia to run with order, rules, and structure. These are the five Italian-American Mafia families that dominate traditional organized crime in New York City. 1. The Gambino family, once led by Carlo Gambino, Paul Castellano, John Gotti, etc. One of the most powerful families in Mafia history. 2. The Genovese family, often considered the most organized and secretive, once led by Charles Lucky Luciano, Vito Genovese, and the Chin Vincent Gigante. 3. The Lucchese family, known for infiltration of unions and garment districts, led by Tommy Lucchese, Anthony Gaspipe Casso, etc. 4. The Colombo family, originally the Profazzi family, known for internal wars and power struggles. 5. The Bonanno family, once led by Joseph Bonanno, involved in the Donnie Brasco infiltration by the FBI. Now that you have an understanding of the structure, let's get into John's story. John Gotti was born in 1940 in the South Bronx, one of 13 kids in a family that barely had enough to survive. By the time he was 12, he wasn't dreaming about baseball cards. He was running errands for local mobsters. He drops out of school in the 8th grade, and by his teens he's committing robberies, hijackings, extortion. Gotti wasn't just drawn to the street, he belonged to it. By the 1960s, Gotti is working under the Gambino crime family. At the time, the biggest mafia family in the country. He becomes part of the Bergen crew, a group of young, aggressive mobsters operating out of Queens. This is where Gotti earns his first stripes. He's reliable. He's violent, and most importantly, he gets the job done. In 1973, Gotti carries out one of the first major hits linked to his name, the murder of James McBratney, who kidnapped and killed the nephew of boss Carlo Gambino. This hit impresses the higher-ups, and Gotti gets made, officially becoming a soldier in the Gambino family. He does a few years in prison, but comes out with even more respect than before. By the early 1980s, Gotti is a capo, a captain, overseeing a powerful crew in Queens. But here's the thing about Gotti. He doesn't like taking orders. He starts butting heads with Paul Castellano, the boss of the entire Gambino family. Castellano was more of a white-collar mobster, business-minded, low-key, and Gotti was the complete opposite. This tension, it sets the stage for one of the biggest moments in modern mafia history. December 16, 1985, Castellano pulls up to Sparks Steakhouse in Manhattan. Two gunmen walk up and execute him in the street. Broad daylight, Manhattan rush hour. It shocks the city, it shakes the mob world, and everyone knows who ordered it: John Gotti. With Castellano gone, Gotti steps into the power vacuum and becomes the new boss of the Gambino family. Once he's boss, Gotti becomes something unusual, a mafia celebrity. He shows up to court in expensive suits, walks through crowds smiling, and beats case after case. The media calls him the Dapper Don because of his style, and later the Teflon Don because nothing sticks. For a while, Gotti looks untouchable, but while the media is obsessed with him, so are the feds. The FBI realizes they can't get Gotti on street hits. He's too protected. So they go after him with RICO laws, conspiracy, racketeering, gambling, extortion. And then they make their biggest move yet. They flip Gotti's underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano. Sammy admits to participating in 19 murders, and he paints Gotti as the man giving the orders. This was the beginning of the end. Let's explain the RICO law.
1. What does RICO stand for? RICO, a Racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act passed in 1970. 2. What's the purpose of RICO? To take down criminal organizations, not just individual criminals. It allows prosecutors to charge leaders who order crimes, even if they don't personally commit them. This is how the FBI brought down mafia bosses, major gangs, drug cartels, fraud rings, corrupt businesses. 3. What crimes can be charged under RICO? RICO applies to 35+ different crimes, including murder, drug trafficking, extortion, illegal gambling, kidnapping, money laundering, bribery, fraud, robbery. If a person commits 2 or more of these crimes as part of an organization, they can be hit with RICO. 4. Why RICO is so powerful. RICO lets prosecutors charge the entire organization at once, not just the people who pulled the trigger, but the ones who ordered it. B. Use wiretaps, informants, heavily conversations, meetings, orders, all admissible. Freeze assets. Cars, cash, property, all can be seized. Give heavy sentences up to 20 years per RICO count, and life if murder is involved. 5. Why the mafia hated RICO. Before RICO, mob bosses used the rule: if I didn't do it myself, you can't prove it. RICO made that useless. Now, if the boss approved a hit or benefited from the crew's crimes or ran the organization, he was just as guilty. This is how they finally got John Gotti. The bosses of the 5 families, the commission case, countless mob captains and soldiers.
In 1992, Gotti goes on trial, again, but this one is different. The feds have tapes, they have witnesses, they have Sammy the Bull. This time, the Teflon finally cracks. Gotti is convicted on murder, conspiracy to murder, racketeering, obstruction, illegal gambling, loan sharking. He's sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. Even inside prison, Gotti acts like a boss. He tries to run the Gambino family from behind bars. But his power on the outside fades fast, and new leadership rises up. In 2002, after a long battle with cancer, John Gotti dies at the age of 61. So what's the legacy here? To some, John Gotti is the last true mafia boss. Flashy, fearless, a symbol of old-school gangster culture. To others, he's the man who destroyed the mafia's secrecy by becoming a celebrity and drawing too much attention. Either way, he's unforgettable. John Gotti wasn't just a mobster. He became a pop culture icon. Narrator. And that's the rise and fall of John Gotti, the Teflon Don. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know who you want a documentary on next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.